A little while ago, I bought the Painkiller Complete Pack when it was on sale, although I mainly got it because I wanted to try out Painkiller Hell and Damnation. Honestly, I'm not exactly looking forward to the reboot, mainly because it seems to have an emphasis on fighting alongside allies, and I just don't care for that stuff. It's why I haven't even played Serious Sam 4. Anyway, I want to spend some time talking about this game and my thoughts on it, but I feel that it's necessary to provide some context before we get started. Back in 2004, a Polish game studio called People Can Fly released Painkiller Heaven's Got a Hitman. It was a fast-paced first-person shooter with a gritty art style, a bit of humor, and a fantastic game engine to run smooth on whatever you play this game on. They followed Painkiller up with an expansion, Battle Out of Hell, which was later bundled with the original game as Painkiller Black Edition. Due to the success of these first two titles, People Can Fly sold the rights and moved on to make games like Bulletstorm and... yeah, that one. So needless to say, they're doing well. In the meantime, the Painkiller fanbase was hard at work creating custom content for the game, some of which caught the attention of Dreamcatcher Interactive, who pulled a Valve and supported the fans and allowed these mods to become standalone expansions. Unfortunately, unlike certain fanbases, Painkiller fans, at least at the time, were not quite on par with the people who made their beloved game, and as a result, most of Painkiller's standalone expansions did not receive the best reviews. I've yet to play any of the expansions despite owning them, but the most underrated guy on the platform, Gaming Pastime, reviewed all of them a few years ago. To summarize his points, Overdose is actually fine, Resurrection is buggy and badly designed, Redemption is just a bunch of multiplayer maps filled with enemies, and Recurring Evil is passable but really short. Link in the description to his channel, by the way. After all that came Hell and Damnation, which released not even a full year after the last standalone expansion. Despite this, it was surprisingly polished and was easily the highest quality thing to come out of the series since the original Painkiller. The story is handled in an interesting way here. Even though this is a remake, the story is not the same as the original and instead expands upon what little narrative there was in the previous Painkiller games. I wasn't really interested in what the characters had to say, and sadly the writing and tone is more dramatic and somber compared to the slightly campy vibes I got from the original game. Hey, at least the main character is voiced by Duke Nukem. Obviously, no one plays Painkiller for the story, so let's talk about why I like this game so much. The gameplay is simple, but not mindless as some might tell you. Every weapon has two firing modes, which complements each other, and the name of the game is Crowd Control and ammo management. While I don't find myself running out of ammo as often as I did in the original Painkiller, Hell and Damnation doesn't let you get away with just spamming the same weapon over and over again. While none of the enemies are particularly resistant against any weapon, some are easier to take out with hit scan as opposed to projectiles, or maybe splash damage. Some enemies are completely immune to projectiles and have to either be set on fire or exploded. For the most part, your opposition isn't exactly a group of Rick and Morty enjoyers, so you don't have to worry about them strategizing or dodging your attacks. The only enemies I find particularly frustrating to fight are the witches who fly around and are hard to hit, or those hit scan soldiers that were so bad in the original version of their respective level that I could only get through it using God mode. Fortunately, they're not as aggressive in the remake, but still. Speaking of levels, the layout of each stage has what I like to call in FPS games organic linearity. You are obviously guided on a set path to the end of the level, but you occasionally have to figure out exactly what you're expected to do. This is compounded by the fact that the little arrow on the top of the screen will sometimes disappear completely, leaving you entirely on your own. Since Painkiller doesn't exist in the Hexen universe, you probably won't have to look up guides on how to progress, but I will admit that I did just that for the monastery level. Fallen monsters will eventually drop souls, which can be absorbed to regain a bit of health. If you collect 66 of them, haha, you become a demon and can wipe out anything you click on in one shot. Some have complained about not being able to activate this manually, but if you pay attention to your soul count, you could just not collect another soul until you need to. They do take their sweet time materializing after all. Despite running on a new engine, Unreal Free to be exact, Painkiller Hell and Damnation retains the exact same movement mechanics of the original. This means bunny hopping, and a lot of it. I played through the game on Insomnia, so anytime you see me bunny hop, it's just for fun. On higher difficulties, however, this becomes an essential part of the gameplay because avoiding damage is crucial more than ever. Even on the lower difficulties, I've always loved the speed you get when bunny hopping and just how easy it is to pull off compared to other games. I know it's a thing in the Quake series, but I've never been able to pull it off there, in either the original or Quake Free Arena. but in Painkiller, it's always been very intuitive. One of the aspects of the Painkiller games I often neglect is the Black Tarot card system. Essentially, meeting certain requirements and levels unlocks silver and gold cards, which can offer constant or temporary advantages for a level at the cost of gold coins. This is probably because I don't play on higher difficulties, but I never use these cards much. The only card I always have equipped, since I'm a worthless 2001 modern shooter child, is the one that regenerates your health. It does make things easier, but I mainly use it because I don't want to run into the awfully common unwinnable scenario in shooters where you're faced with hit-scan enemies and don't have enough health to withstand their unavoidable attacks. I know, skill issue this, skill issue that, but I still had to fight to survive in Hell and Damnation, so I'd say the difficulty was still mostly in check. Also in check is the presentation. Painkiller HD really does live up to the name, with sharp textures, shiny new models, and some new particle effects that really make the action pop. This game is significantly more demanding, surprising given its age, and some aesthetic choices might not be to everyone's taste, but I still think everything looks great. The soundtrack is mostly the same as the original, so that means lots of progressive and diverse metal riffs with interesting production choices, yet morons will say that they all sound the same. Yeah, because 4.4 and 9.8 are totally the same time signature. Remember when I said I got this game on sale? Yeah, this is the bit that got a couple of people upset at this remake. See, the base campaign is not very long, coming in at just 9 levels, not counting the boss arenas. But wasn't this supposed to be a remake of 2 campaigns with way more stages? Exactly, if you want more of those levels back, you gotta buy them separately. If not for Steam sales, I'd be pretty pissed about that too, especially since some of my favorite levels ended up being DLC. Oh, there's also a fully unique set of stages that makes up the Heavens Above DLC, which turns Painkiller into a top-down shooter. It's actually not as bad as it sounds, there's even a bit of puzzle solving thrown in there. Now, when you do have the DLC, Painkiller Hell and Damnation becomes a fairly feature-rich package, offering 30 or so levels to play through. Some stages have even been expanded, either by simply being longer or by taking what was once just a boss arena and giving it a full layout to go through before the fight. The question remains though, is it okay to charge extra for remade content that was previously available in a $10 game? Again, if sales didn't exist, then the answer is absolutely not. I recommend you only get Painkiller HD as part of the Painkiller Complete Pack when it goes on sale. Plus, you're also getting every other game in the series, for better or worse. Be sure to subscribe and support the show in the description below.